This is K-Rockcast, the podcast where music and perspectives collide.
I'm Anne, a music lover who's the ultimate fan.
And I'm Kelly, a professional musician. Join us as we dive into the world of the Rose and other Korean and Asian rock bands.
Sometimes we'll agree, sometimes we'll wildly disagree, but what's guaranteed is a passionate, hilarious, and unfiltered conversation about the music that unites us and the bands that inspire us.
On today's show,
Here's Hongi sitting there across from him, like basically saying, the level of touring that you're doing overseas is what any Korean rock band
they're
would want.
desperate for it because they can't get out of
Yeah,
Korea.
he's like, y'all
That's
played
the thing.
Coachella.
Yeah, that's the thing. They can't get out of Korea, and our guys are desperately trying to get in. And it's just like, something skewed about the picture here.
Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 18, Into the Garage Files, part 4. Kelly, we're finally wrapping up the Photosynthesis series. I feel like we've been doing these episodes for a while now.
It does feel like it's taken forever.
Right. So we're going to dig in today, listeners, in our deep dive into episodes 7 and 8. But before we do that, I'm so excited, Kelly. We have the Once Upon a World Tour has finally kicked off.
I know.
This is so exciting for the Rose.
It's so good.
And we're seeing such amazing fan cams come in, Kelly. But I couldn't help but notice something, Kelly.
Oh, here we go.
Okay. Do you remember back in the episode Into the Garage Files Part 3, we had this rant, you and I.
Yes.
I think we got a little more passionate about this than maybe we thought, but like
Yes.
we started kind of ranting about how the Rose is so scripted in their performances and everything and their ments, and we want them to just loosen up. I couldn't help but notice in some of these fan cams, Kelly, especially Paris. There was just one in Paris where Sammy literally says that they have no script for the show and they just kind of go off the cuff. And then you even said you kind of noticed a little more improv happening.
Yeah, there seems to have been a little bit of improv happening as well. Yes.
As you can tell, we have no script for whatever part this is. We don't know what to say. We don't know. We never had a, idea of what to talk about
any
here.
topic, literally. If you guys can't see this, it just says MENT.
Yeah.
Man, right?
Which, okay, Kelly, you know my mind.
I know your mind. I do know your mind.
You know what happens.
Where are we going?
My delusional mind starts to go. So, follow me.
I am buying you a jacket with very long sleeves. You do know this, don't you?
Okay, so follow me.
Go on. Do I have to? Is it safe to follow you?
Do you remember when I had the delusional fantasy that they listen in the Windfall office and I described what I imagined, how each of them would react?
Of course.
Now I'm thinking it's like that, but like 2.0 version. Imagine, Kelly, they're on the tour bus. And Kelly, you've been on tour. There's hours of downtime where there's nothing to do. So guess who's throwing on K-Rockcast?
Yeah.
Just listening. So now I'm imagining they're all sitting around the tour bus listening to our episode. And I bet they're doing two things, Kelly. This is what I'm imagining.
What, writing a cease and desist letter?
Clive is typing the cease and desist letter.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay, so Clive's in the corner typing the cease and desist letter because he's like, got to get these bitches off the air.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And then I think the guys do two things. One, I think they're writing down all the amazing ideas that we're giving them.
Oh, well,
that's where we're seeing them sprinkled in.
Okay, of course, yes, of course, yes.
Somebody's got the notepad and they're like, taking all the brilliance down.
Of course, yes.
Two.
Gonna start charging for this service.
Just give me free tickets to the Rose. Give me free front row tickets and give me a rose from Kim Woo-sung. I'll be happy. I'll give you all the brilliant ideas that you ever want.
I'm a bit more higher value than that, I'm afraid to say.
I'm a cheap date. A front row ticket and a rose from Kim Woo-sung, and I'm a happy girl.
Oh,
All
yeah,
right.
there you go.
Okay. Number 2.
Go on then.
I think you know how we've seen in the photosynthesis series, they seem to love these little bets, these little competitions.
Okay, yeah, okay.
I think they use us as a bet competition game among them. I think they keep track of, one, how many compliments we give each of them throughout an episode and tally it up against each other
Okay.
versus how many times we roast one of them.
Well, we know who's winning on the roasting scheme. Because to be perfectly honest, yeah.
Why do we, if I think back, I feel like, why do we pick on Sammy the most?
Because it's Sammy, isn't it? Come on, at the end
Is
of
he
the
just
day.
like an easy target?
He's an easy target.
He is kind of an easy target.
He's an easy target. Sorry, Sammy. We love you, really.
We love you, though. But he is kind of an easy target. Where Hajun, do we ever roast Hajun?
Why would we want to roast Hajun?
I don't think there's anything to roast.
No, there's nothing to roast about at all. I think he must be winning on the compliments.
He has to be.
He's obviously winning on the compliments.
He
Definitely.
has to be. So I don't know what are the what the bets are or what the winners have to do or the losers have to do, but this is my mind. I'm imagining they're riding that tour bus all around Europe right now, just listening to us and doing their little bets and games. But
okay, Anne. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, listeners, let's jump into our hot takes. So if anybody follows our Instagram account, you'll see that I have been putting out little clips of the show that we're going to talk about because Woo-sung was on Hyungki's Orakshil show. Hyungki is the lead singer of a Korean rock band, FT Island. And Kelly, we've got to do that band, I think, in one of our future artist spotlight recommendations.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Because I mean, I think they were actually one of the first Korean sort of pop rock bands I got into.
Yeah.
Because I mean, traditionally with me, it's mainly been like Japanese rock and metal. But obviously, because they're big in Japan, I think there was a crossover there. So it was like them and CN Blue. So yeah.
It's funny because I only started listening to CN Blue because Woo-sung guest star with Younghwa on Bibimbap. Love their music. And now after I saw Orak Shil with Woo-sung on there, I started listening to some FT Island and I like their music too.
Did you just say about CN Blue it was because you love their music? Is that really the only reason? Is that really the only reason? I know you, woman.
Yeah, I mean, their drummer might be easy on the eyes and a quality drummer.
He's an exceptional drummer. He's an exceptional drummer, yes.
I appreciate good drumming.
Is that what we're calling it?
Sorry.
I can't take you bloody anywhere for crying out loud.
This content alert just keeps popping up every episode. That's the drinking game now. It's
yes,
no longer
content,
saying Hajun's phrases. It's how much
or me saying, to be perfectly honest.
All right, back to the Orak Shil show. So at first when it came out, it had no English subtitles. I do believe now, if you go on YouTube, there are English subtitles, but I was putting out little clips and I was translating and adding English subtitles. But it was a short interview, but I thought that we got some really interesting nuggets. So it came out on June 3rd. It is on Hyungki's YouTube channel. It was a very casual type interview, just two people having a conversation. They're in kind of a bar, I guess, in Hyundai, and they're eating and they're drinking. Okay, the funniest thing for me is like Woo-sung. I think I put this out on one of my reels because I always like to do little digs with him whenever I can. But it's like it's like the bottle of whiskey sitting there next to him in the interview. And it's like as you progress through the interview, you see like the whiskey level go down and down and down. And then little Sammy's cheeks get redder and redder and redder. It's just like he is such a lightweight.
Do you know what? I'm going to stand up for him here, because when I did used to drink, I was a whiskey drinker. Whiskey does give you a flush. Apart from it's not my cheeks that flush.
I feel like his cheeks are just like the brightest crimson by the end of this interview. It's so cute. And that whiskey, they polished that whiskey bottle. Let me just say.
That is that. No, honestly, that is a really nice whiskey to polish off. That is a smooth whiskey. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's really cute. There were some nice conversations that I really liked about Hungy talking about rock festivals and how it looks like he's really had this dream to put on his own rock festival there in Korea, and why we respect the Rose so much. You know, Usang's just like, hey, like I'm here, I'm to support if you need us, because Hungy was talking about how challenging it is in terms of finding the money and getting the sponsorship and all of those other things. And that at one point he was thinking of putting out money in his own pocket just to be able to clear the difference. And, you know, Woosung's like, we'll play for free. Like, we won't take a dime from you. Like, whatever you need, we're here. And there's this cute clip because Hungi's like, did you get that on camera?
Yeah, I know.
Basically,
Did me giggle. Did you get him? Did you get him? Have we got this contractually agreed? Yeah, I must admit, I sort of saw that bit and I giggled. But I mean, like, from my old job, I mean, that's what we used to do. We used to put live shows on, and we used to put big festivals on. And yeah, knowing what goes into the background of these, and that was working for a promoter that had done it for years and years and years, and you still knew what they had to face. So starting one from fresh is a really scary idea. So I mean, in the UK, I don't know if you're aware, but Youngblood is doing he does Bloodfest down in Milton Keynes at the Bowl, and this is its second year. He must have turned a bit of a profit last year to be able to do the show again this year, because I think otherwise I just sort of had to sit back and go, actually, I need a year before I do this again. But no, it's an amazing idea, and I love festivals. I love festivals, and that was a part of my job I love more than anything, working festivals and doing all the background work for that. Oh, honestly amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Sammy said in some of his understanding is really when you put it on for the first time, you might not turn a profit.
You don't. You don't. Yeah. It's as simple as that. You don't.
It's interesting you mentioned Youngblood, because when I think you had sent me maybe Instagram reel interview of him talking about that festival and some of the reasons why he wanted to do it, you know, very centric to fans and how high the cost of tickets to see shows have become, and having a way that he can keep costs down for fans. Where I liked when Hungi was talking, he had a different reason, but it was still a reason that you know, was centric in terms of kind of mission driven, right? For him, he wanted to create with this festival, his vision is creating a space where all these rock bands can come together and network and connect, right? And all of that. And so I think it's just interesting, you know, Sammy said in that interview that the Rose has had a similar dream. Like that was a new little tidbit, you know, that would be something that they would love to do even themselves. And I mean, there is something on August 30th in Seoul that has yet to be announced, and you think it's some sort of festival, but
yeah, I do. I think it, because I'm sure I've seen something relating to Summer Sonic. They've got a date penciled in Korea on that day.
Yeah, well,
so, but for some reason, obviously, it's not been announced. So whether or not they've not got the licenses through yet, or whether or not there's some form of restriction in place for wherever they're wanting to do it, or they may not have got the headliner sorted out.
I think that, you know, it's just interesting to see, again, this is another example of the type of content you and I have been talking about. We even mentioned this in the Into the Tribeca episode of understanding more now probably why the Rose is focusing on this Korean content. But here's another example, you know, of trying. it looks like to me they're working really hard to leverage as many of these relationships with Korean artists as they can to
Yeah.
gain more interest in the Korean music market. And I think what it shows you is while the Rose may not be popular to music listeners in Korea, they are known in the Korean music industry. There's
Yeah, and
a lot of
respected.
powerful people
Yeah.
that they obviously know.
Yeah.
Eh, do you know what I mean? And
I know
so
exactly what you're saying, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I just think it's interesting. And he kind of made similar Hongi made similar comments that if I think back to when Usung and Taegyam were on Epic High's show, that Tableau had that famous line, the rose is the gochujang cookie of K-pop.
Yeah.
That they made it big in the West, but nobody knows them in Korea. Hongi was saying kind of the same thing. He's
Yeah.
like,
Because it's an unknown to them. CN Blue are huge over there, and they're huge in pretty much all of Asia, but they come over to the
mhm.
States and they play, what, 3 shows?
Yeah, I think it was like 5 across North America.
Yeah, and I mean, and
Um,
they're not doing anything in Europe or anything like that. So I mean, I know the guys want to they want to break Korea, they want to do that, but you don't look a gift horse in the mouth, do you? I mean, when you've got an
right.
international audience, do you know what? I mean, me personally, my dream would be that I could go and tour other countries and sell out arenas, decent sized venues, and everything else, and have a career, and then come home and nobody give a flying fuck who the hell I was.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, I
It's
yeah,
interesting because here's Hongi sitting there across from him, like basically saying the level of touring that you're doing overseas is what any Korean rock band
they're
would want.
desperate for it because they can't get out of
Yeah.
Korea.
He's like, y'all
That's
played
the thing.
Coachella.
Yeah, that's the thing. They can't get out of Korea, and our guys are desperately trying to get in. And it's just like
Mhm.
something skewed about the picture here.
It is so interesting, but I'm gonna inject this, and I think I don't know if I can't remember now if I've said this on air, if I've said this in conversations, but I think it was interesting. This sparked for me actually today because there was a Korean Black Rose on Rosarium that made a comment in Korean, and I commented back to that person in Korean, but their comment was how much they love the Rose, but they want the Rose to sing in Korean. And
Yeah,
this is what I kept saying this to somebody
yeah.
that it's like it's doesn't make sense to me. It's like,
Mm,
okay, I respect it, guys. Y'all want to break into Korea, you don't do it with an all English album.
no,
Like, where are the Korean songs? So
yeah.
it's like that, that's what that Black Rose was saying. And I kind of admitted back to that person. I said, I want them singing in Korean again too.
But
I miss it.
shall we just turn this the other way around? And this goes for any Korean artist that has broken anywhere outside of Korea, especially into a Western market. The Western market still accepts the Korean lyrics and takes them on and learns them. They might not actually fully understand what's being said, but they take them on board, they learn them, and they will sing them back to them in Korean, whether it's pronounced correctly or not. And that's the difference. That is the difference with the audience. So you've got a
Mhm.
Western market that is accepting of whatever language it comes out. It doesn't have to be in English. I mean, the guys choose to write in English. And then you've got the other side of it where you've got Korea and it's like, well, we can't listen to them because it's not in Korean. I understand it, but it's a seesaw. Where's the dynamic? Where's the balance in it?
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I kind of find it a little bit of a shame. I mean, when we saw Soon, we were like, oh, this track on there that's possibly going to have a
Right.
bit more Korean in it. It annoys me slightly because it's this sort of dualistic ideology again of the audience being, I want this, I want that, I want the other. And it's just like, well, this is just how they write, how they see fit. That's how they are interpreting their feelings at the time.
Yeah.
And if it's easier
But
to interpret it in English, it is. If it's in Korean, it's in Korean.
yeah.
I listen to German punk bands in German. I listen to French thrash bands. I listen to Portuguese death metal bands. It doesn't matter. But it's one of those things. It's
Yeah, I
music at the
think
end of the day. I don't think you necessarily need to have a language in common, because that's all. It's almost like saying that music has to, music's a universal language, and it's just the icing has to be in a universal language as well, and it doesn't.
yeah, I think the point I'm kind of making is a little bit different in that my perception, this is just my opinion, I could be completely wrong because I'm not in the music industry, but the Korean listeners seem to want to hear Korean lyrics.
Oh no, I don't
So
disagree. I don't
what I'm
disagree
trying
with
to
you on
say to
that.
the Rose is like, if you purposely want to gain more Korean listeners, you probably would do that through having Korean songs, is what
Oh
I'm
yeah.
trying to say. Like, it seems odd if they're trying to go down that route, but yet are doing it with an all English album. I just, that seems like a disconnect, like, to me in a way.
It is in a way. I get that and I understand that, and it makes perfect sense, because if you are selling to a market, it is easier to sell to a market in your native tongue. Always is.
Right.
It's in the same way that a lot of the artists who play in Japan have Japanese songs. CN
Yeah.
Blue do
Oh, yeah.
Japanese versions of their
Yeah.
songs.
Mhm.
I get that. I understand that. And I understand from a cultural thing, it is easier to digest than it being in English. But so I agree with you. I'm not saying I don't agree with you. I get what you're saying, but I'm also saying that there is this sort of, I find it's just a weird sort of tangent that the West will accept Korean lyrics,
Mm.
but Korea won't accept English lyrics. That's what I'm getting at. It's this
Yeah.
weird ass duality of
Yeah.
like, well, we won't accept that. So does that mean if a Western musician goes into Korea, they won't accept a Western musician singing in English? You see where I'm coming from? I'm being argumentative, but do you see where I'm
Yeah.
coming from?
I think it would be a little different because these are Korean artists. So I
Mm.
think there's a little bit of an expectation that you sing to us in our native tongue.
Again, though, you could
That's
say
kinda
that about
how I view
you
it,
could
I
say that
guess.
about DPR Ian. DPR Ian doesn't sing in Korean, but yeah, he's got an audience in Korea.
Yeah. Well, I
So
don't know. I could be wrong.
yeah,
Maybe Korean listeners don't mind the English, but it's just kind of my opinion is it seems like I think if they truly want to build that audience, I think they'll do it more with Korean
yeah.
lyrics.
Oh, it'd be
But
easier. I have no
yeah.
doubt it will be easier. I am a true believer that eventually they'll catch up.
Yeah. So back to the Hungy interview. It was a good interview. So definitely check it out. We'll have that linked within our episode description. And like I said, now there's at least, I think, English subtitles on there. So Kelly, in our hot takes, why don't you move us into some interesting things we got from fan Q&As from Zurich and Vienna show?
The very first stop of the Once Upon a World tour was at Zurich. So we're just going to have a little bit of a run through regarding the Q&A at the Zurich stop. And honestly, some of the questions and some of the answers, I mean, this one made me laugh. This one did make me titter, because I do know that we do have a lot of listeners in Switzerland. Hello, Switzerland, you lovely, lovely people. So one of the fans asked each member how they would react in a zombie apocalypse. Now, this sounds a little familiar.
Again, do you think that they listened to that episode?
I think somebody in the audience may have listened to it, but anyway. So there was a little sort of breakdown, as there normally is on stage, and a little explanation of what would happen. So Jim was sort of like, oh, I don't know, backwards and forwards, I don't really know. And then obviously Sammy just, well, I know what you'd do. You'd build a bunker. And he was like, oh my God, I would. I'd build a bunker. You're right. This is exactly what I do. And actually he would. I think he's part prepper, to be perfectly honest. I think there is part of that in him. He would hunker down. You're all right. You'd be able to sit behind the door with him, with the zombies outside scratching. He'd be able
Isn't
to
that
sing
what I
to you,
said in my
darling.
fantasy? That's
Yeah,
exact yeah.
exactly.
He just forgot Dojin forgot to say the part. He would sing to this blonde woman as she
Yeah,
died,
yeah.
counting stars. He just forgot that part in his
Obviously.
explanation.
Thank God he forgot that part, but hey ho. And then obviously they picked up on the fact that Tay would be the chef for everybody. And he agreed with this. He was like, yeah, I would, being the foodie that I am. Because we know that man cannot survive 5 seconds if he doesn't find food. And actually...
I think I should have thought of that in my zombie
know.
apocalypse scenario.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, there could be a point where you wouldn't be able to outrun a zombie because, you'd have to roll away from them because he'd fed you up that much. There could be that. Especially if you manage to actually, like, seconder a supermarket or something like that. It's like, oh, this food's going up, we've got to eat it now. But then there was a few gags put in place regarding the fact that, obviously, Mr. Jim Selfie himself would probably need a mirror to be used as a splashback.
That was funny.
So he could take his one last selfie.
I love how Woo-sung was like... Because apparently he's been off social media, right off the grid. He's like, does he still do those gym selfies?
Yes. So does he still do the gym selfies? Yes, the man still does the gym selfies. He can't help himself. He still does the gym selfies. Oh, there's quite a few ladies out there that apparently seem to live for the gym selfies. Now, Harjun, bless his little cotton socks, has said he'd do what all of us would do, and he'd just bloody run away. And then Sammy decided that he would be brave and bold and a bit fearless and a bit bonkers, and he would go out and gather people.
Which is kind of what we said, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I feel like we named our 2 people, and I think we got right.
We got it. We got it bang on right. I do love the fact, though, that all 3 of the members all admitted immediately, pretty much in line with each other, and just went, but the last one alive would be Hajun.
I know. I thought that was funny too.
Yeah, I mean,
like, I guess I should have picked Hajun.
Yeah.
Except he would run and leave me. That's the problem. He'd be like, I'm not staying with you. You're bringing me down.
I've already told you I have my zombie apocalypse plan, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. Okay. I just thought it was so funny. Somebody asked that as we talked about it.
I did. Yeah, I found it quite funny, that one. I must admit. I was like, I did a Scooby-Doo. I was like, whoop. Right, so the next question was, what does music mean to each of them? And I thought this was a lovely question.
Yeah.
It was a nice sort of, it could be quite a deep question, but it was a nice kind of metaphorical question, and I quite like that. So our Hajuni said music is hope, which is a beautiful idea because music is hope, and that's really lovely. Taegyum said that music is healing, which fits perfectly with exactly who we know him to be. Dojon said music is refuge and it's a safe place to run to. I really liked that. I understood that. Yeah, I got that. That made sense to me. And Woo-sung said that music is love. And of course, I get that as well.
When Dojun explained his, I felt like, I'm like, that's exactly what music is to me. Exactly. When he talks about it's a safe place to run to and he can go to a different world where he can just be comfortable. I was like, this is exactly how I feel. Like, I get so lost in music like that, So when he said that, I was like, oh my God, that's exactly how I connected a lot to that.
Yeah, I think you could see most of the audience like nodding their head going, yep, completely agree with that. And then the Vienna fan Q&A, so we'll just go on to that because we're just going to pick the best sort of like Q&A questions out of those. They were asked what song from the Roses back catalogue that they would be happy singing for the rest of their life. Just one song that they could sing for the rest of their life, but it had to come from their catalogue. Now, Dojun chose O, which I suppose in a way is quite fitting. Hajun picked Tomorrow, which got rather an interesting response from 2 of the members of the band. Sammy was kind of a bit like, really?
I know, why was he such a snark?
I don't necessarily think it was, but I think I'd have said the same. To be honest, I don't think it was him. I think I would have said exactly the same, like, really? But obviously, I mean, Dojan kind of were like, are you sure? As well. Taegum picked Sour. Completely agree with that one. And Wusung picked Cosmo. And actually, do you know what? I think I might be with him on that one. It was a good choice. It was sort of like an underlying choice, but yeah. And plus, there's not loads of singing parts in that one as well.
Notice Wuzong didn't pick Red.
Yes, there is that. I'm not shocked by that either, to be perfectly honest. And then there was a very sweet bit. Hajun actually remembered a lady that was in the audience that was asking a question. And of course, Lord Sass came out to play, didn't he? He couldn't help himself.
I'm telling you. I don't know what it was about him in this Q&A. He was irritable and snarky. I don't know if he was hangry, if he like whatever. I don't know. He was snark. Full snark.
You say snark, I just say a little bit sassy.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on. No, but come on. You know what I'm like.
Because I thought that was so kind that Hajun remembered meeting her on the street. And he like remembered and he said, oh, I met you on the street. And then we didn't need your sass, Sammy. We didn't need you coming in. It was an A and B conversation between those two. So see your way out. And he had to say, oh, you met him or you followed him? Where she came right back and was like, I'm sorry, but this is my husband right here.
That did make me titter.
Then he turns Mr. Charm. Did you notice
Of
that?
course.
Then the Charm, he goes, oh, that's right. We did meet you on the street. Oh, blah, 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 blah. I was like, oh, Mr. Charm comes out now. Huh? Okay. And then she gives him the sweater.
Yes.
Don't you feel bad, Sammy? You were Mr. Snark, and now this lady knitted you a sweater.
Yes. It was very well crocheted.
To that black rose. That sweater was beautiful.
It was.
So cute.
There was a lot of work went into that one, I can tell you that much.
And it's like right in line with the styling of the tour. I feel like he could put that on in the show, and it goes along with all the little other sweaters he's wearing, all the cardigans.
It's all gone a bit sweater mad, hasn't it? It's all just a little bit sweater mad at the moment. There's a lot of wool on that stage. There's a lot of naked sheep.
What did I say in a previous episode?
I know that it was going to be wearing his.
I thought it was going to be the flea market cardigan was going to make an appearance. I didn't realize his entire wardrobe was wool cardigans.
You see, now that's the difference between us. So, in America, flea market. In the UK, we call it vintage. It just has a nicer ring to it. It has a nicer ring. And then they got on to each other's annoying habits. Now, me and Anne could do each other's annoying habits for forever and a day. I'm 100% sure about this. Would you like me to start?
No, we'll move on.
You sure? Have a list. Hold on, just wait for the list to go. Thud. As he rolls across the floor.
And delusional fantasies.
The continual sus content.
Check. Here's another time where Sammy was Mr. Snark. He answered that question quick.
He might have just needed a hamburger or something.
Couldn't even come up with annoying habits of anybody, but he had it right. He had something. He had to get it off his chest.
Yes, he did. It was very obvious that it spilt out, didn't it? As quick as their bladders go. Oh, I need to go.
Haji was like, I'm sorry, I actually drink water.
Not just sip like a bird. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Sammy, if you drank the amount of water you should, sir, you would need to use the restroom as well.
There is that, yeah. Oh dear. So he just basically pointed out very, 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 very quickly that Hajun and Tae always have to go to the bathroom as soon as they are ready to do something. Now, I will hold my hand up wholeheartedly with this. If it's a case of me getting ready to go on stage, Kelly has to run to the toilet as well, because Kelly has a slightly, how shall we put it, a nervous bladder when I know I've got to do a show, which is fun and has resulted in me being locked in the toilet once before a show when the band being on stage going, where's Kelly? And Kelly had to walk out of the bathroom with the door in her hand. Give it to one of the members of staff and go, you might need to put the door back on. Thankfully, I got a metal nail file in my bag to get out.
Are you that way in any other time though?
No.
Oh my God.
It's
I am so okay. Sammy will hate me then. I am so Hajun and Taegyeon. My family could tell you. It's like we're all and they'll give like the 10-minute warning. This is what pissed them off. They're like, we're getting ready to leave, Anne, in 10 minutes. Okay. And they're like, okay, let's go. Oh yeah, I gotta go to the bathroom
I'm gonna go
first.
to the
And they're like,
bathroom.
what have you been fucking doing for the last 10 minutes? Like
No, that would drive me fucking insane. I can tell you that now because my mum does this.
I like that.
We'll be like, we'll be going out. I've got like the dog in the car. Everything's packed and ready to go. The engine's on. I'm stood at the door with the key in, and she'll go, hold on a minute. I just need to pop back to the loo. For God's sake, just get in the car.
That's totally me.
Are you the same?
Yes.
Oh God, that drives me mad.
I know. I felt like I was defending Hajun and Taegyeon when I was watching this. I was like,
Well, I just assumed, so if it's like before a Q&A or before a show, it might just be nervous bladder. That's just mean of him. And then there was a young lady in the audience who had asked them whether or not they would draw her a tattoo. Now obviously the guys won't do this, and they basically started talking about tattoos. Now, obviously, Sammy's got quite a few tattoos. He's no stranger to them. And he said, look, you've got to think long and hard about tattoos. I mean, if you want something of ours, lyrics are a good one, or there's lots of things out there that you could do that sort of would reference us. For God's sake, don't have the logo done. I have friends who have lots of band logos tattooed all over them.
oh no.
And he sort of asked how old she was, and she was 17, at which point he was like, dear God, don't do it yet, wait until you're a bit older. I didn't have mine done until I was, did he say 25?
Yeah.
And then he pointed out the fact that actually he wanted his first tattoo done when he was 16, and the tattoo would have been Woosung tattooed across his shoulder blades like his football jersey.
This part killed me because you know what I love about him? I love when like old man Sammy comes out. Like
It is quite funny.
like it's so cute to me. But like the second she said she was 17, he became like dad mode. That's what I'm gonna say.
Dad
It's
mode
not
kicks
old
in,
man,
it
it's like
does.
dad mode.
It does.
And he
It's
was
very
like,
sweet. It's very sweet.
he's like, no.
No. You're not
You
doing
might
this.
not even
No.
like us in the next 5 years. And he's like, you're way too young. He's like, you know what I did when I was 16? I wanted to. And I was just like, I love when he gets like dad mode that comes out. It's so cute.
So as you are aware, I have quite a few tattoos. But if I had the first tattoo I wanted done when I was about 15, because I became obsessed with tattoos when I was about 15, I was going to have a black rose done.
What was that for? That's funny.
No, it's not, because I wouldn't touch a black rose with a barge pole now. I all my tattoos mean something to me.
That's
And they have a very specific reason and a very specific ideology behind why I had them done, and they relate to me and my story. But I know exactly what he's saying. It's just like, just don't have something done that you thought off the cuff of the moment, do you know what, I'm going to have this done.
Gosh.
Think long and hard about it. Really do think long and hard about it. Because it is, tattoo removal exists. One of my friends is very heavily tattooed, and she is now on her 5th laser tattoo removal for a tattoo on her thigh, and it still hasn't gone. Yeah. So people listening, if you are thinking of getting a tattoo, weigh up the pros and cons. Don't just dive into it. Think about it long and hard. And so then we got on to, what is your latest guilty pleasure? Oh, God. This is all I'm saying. So Sammy's latest guilty pleasure is playing Pokemon Go. So apparently he'd walked around Vienna collecting all his Pokemon.
He's so cute. This was when else did he talk about playing Pokemon Go? What was the other content? Was it in the live stream?
Yeah.
He's so cute.
Yeah. No, I have airy idiots that do this in my band as well.
He's so cute.
It's great. And Hajun, again, his little guilty pleasure is eating Subways.
Hajuni with the diet.
Do you ever get the feeling he's a bread fiend? Is this what it is?
Well, because he's starving himself. He's like eating just chicken and salads. Give this
Oh, it's
boy
not good.
yeah, give him some carbs. Like, basically, this poor guy is like just saying that Subway's like his guilty pleasure, which like I don't even think Subway's that good. So like, I'm sorry, Hajuni, that you like couldn't get something really good.
No, Subway in the UK, if it's still open, it's sort of like replace the dirty kebab, which is what Americans refer to as shawarma. But we have it in the UK, it's a kebab, or as you normally refer to it, as a dirty kebab when you've had about 5 pints. Dojun, his guilty pleasure is sleeping.
Poor guy. That shouldn't be a guilty pleasure, honey. It should be what you do every night. Like,
I think we can gather on the run up to this tour, he has had no sleep.
oh my
I don't think him or Sammy have slept at all, to be perfectly honest. So whether or not they're actually managing to get any sleep on a tour bus is a different thing, because, oh, no. And Tay is resting and not working out.
Feel you on that, Tay. I know what you mean. Like, whenever because I'm someone that exercises like every day, and it's like the thought of not doing it is like guilt. It's like, I should be exercising today. Why am I not working out? Yeah, those have been fun. We haven't seen the Paris one yet. So thank you to Black Roses that put them out on
Yes,
different sites. So those of us who don't go to the concert or don't have the VIP experience can still watch it, because it's just little fun little tidbits that you get. All right, so let's dive in, Kelly. We've got 2 episodes to wrap up with the photosynthesis series. We're going to talk episode 7 and episode 8. So let's start with episode 7. This one, Kelly, is called We Go as One, which has been like kind of a tagline for the World album. We've seen this within the album. If you remember, listeners, when we talked about episode 4, which was called Just Go Straight, or Jikjin Man, they had said that they hadn't taken a trip together since early in their life as a band, when they all went to Busan, and that they should do that. They kind of talked, like, oh, we should take this trip together. So that's kind of what episode 7 is. They are taking a trip together. They went to a place called Yasu, which is pretty far from Seoul. It's a small coastal city located in the south, within the country. And so the theme that they have in this episode is We Go as One, meaning they have to do everything together. And if they do something, they all have to agree to it. They say it is a one heart, one body trip, which is kind of brings up some antics throughout, as you can imagine, throughout the episode. And I think this is kind of interesting. I noticed that, Kelly, in a few of the episodes, they kind of commented that they weren't spending a lot of time together if it wasn't related to work. What's your kind of thought on that?
No, it's true. You don't really spend that much time together, and unless it's work. And it becomes more like that the more your band evolves. So you are sort of sat together working. It's the same with any band. I mean, it's not very often that you just go cut loose and do something stupid. You need to. Don't get me wrong, you need to every now and again. I mean, so I've had a band meeting today, and we just ended up going and having dinner and just prattling around, and I ended up on a bit of a sugar rush. I've literally just had a message. Somebody's just said, oh my God, Kelly on a sugar high. It's just so piss funny when she's giddy.
Yeah.
So
I think it's great that they then did this trip.
Yeah,
Because,
you need to do it.
obviously,
Yeah.
we talked about it a lot in the End of the Tribeca episode we just had, because we saw so much through that documentary film, how strong their bond became when they were living together, and then what happened kind of through that breaking of the
Yeah.
bond. And so I think if we've talked about this as well, I think in the Into the Garage Files part 3, when we had the episode where they talked about losing their spark. So I think you and I have surmised that they've been dealing with not knowing like maybe where they were going to go or what they were going to do, or, things like that. So I think it's nice that they did this trip. I know during the Q&A in Zurich, Sammy said they've got some time off in between the two legs, so in between Europe and the US, and they're actually going to take kind of a trip around Europe. That's not work. It's just them vacationing, for maybe lack of a better word. And so I think it's nice that they're like trying to do these things to bond. And then of course, Usong and Taegyam, we've seen these two all throughout the Photosynthesis series dig at each other, and the bickering begins immediately.
Oh, well,
when they arrive.
Can we just point out when they sat at the table and Tay said, I need to go to the toilet. So this just ties in to the annoyance that we've just discussed.
Yeah. Sammy's like,
there
oh,
we
you
go.
gotta go to the bathroom? No,
you're
I
not
don't
going.
have to go to the bathroom.
No, you're not going.
Poor Tay had to go to the bathroom so bad. Like, you could tell. And Sammy was just being a jerk, just purposely saying that, nope, I don't have to go to the bathroom. And then he digs in on Tay. So they're walking, they decide where they're going to go for lunch, and they all agree on a type of food and a place. And so they're walking there, and then he starts digging in on Taegyam, saying that, remember when you've been here before, haven't you? Didn't you bring your ex-girlfriend here? I thought that was weird. I was like, Uzong, what are you, like, stop it. Like, what are you doing?
He's a bitch, isn't he, to be honest?
He is sometimes. Like, he's
a bitch.
I know. It's like, what? Oh, God. I think they just ignore him so much now. Then they kind of get him back because they go to the restaurant and they're sitting down, and of course, Sammy, he's like, are we drinking? And Dojun's like, wait a second, after this, aren't we supposed to like drive this luge thing? I think he's thinking like, should we be drinking before we go on this luge? Sammy's like, yeah, we can drink now and then we can drink afterwards. And so they end up, I think they wanted to order something, but like the restaurant didn't have it.
Yeah.
We're trying to, again, all agree on what they were going to drink because they all have to drink the same thing. And they were all being jerks to each other, kind of not having one of them that holds out and doesn't agree. But most of them wanted Coca-Cola, but Sammy didn't. He was being kind of an ass. So then he goes to the bathroom. And I love what they did. They were like, okay, he's gone. Fuck him. We're getting 4 Cokes and we're putting them around the table and we're opening his Coke.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that was hysterical. And so they eat their lunch and they kind of comment a little bit. I thought it was interesting. They talk about how they are very different, different blood types, different MBTIs. At the end, even though they were all very different, they felt like they had similar vibes, like they did feel like they always really got along really well. So the funniest part of this episode, Kelly, is them on this luge ride. Oh my gosh. Hysterical.
There were close-ups that I didn't need to see. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. Oh my God. But the editors, whoever, like that camera that was in Dojun's face and then he leans into it and it kind of became, what did he call it? Like a fish angle lens. Hysterical. And remember we said, what did we say about the haunted house humor segment? He's a what?
Is this a screamer?
He's a screamer. That's all he did riding down this goddamn hill was he screamed and he yelled and he talked. And then all I could think was I would do the exact fucking same thing. Like that is so me.
Yeah. No, I'd be quite competitive on that.
It was funny. And the guys got like super competitive, all except for our free
Yeah,
spirit, our
of
numerology
course, I
number
love
5.
Haju, who was just enjoying the journey, the breeze in his hair. He was loving it. He was just like, this is the life. I just love
I mean,
this.
the editors were hysterical. The first scene where there was like the guys are all super into it, and Dojun's screaming and yelling, and then they turn to Hajun, who's like 8 paces back behind everybody else, and they put that serene music in the background.
Yeah.
I think he's literally driving it with just one hand, with the
Oh
other
yeah.
arm
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
hanging out.
Yeah, yeah.
It was so funny. It was just hysterical. So of course, like we said, the guys like to bet on everything. So before they started the luge, they made this big bet that throughout the day they're going to be doing all these different things, and the ultimate winner gets to pick what they have for dinner, and the
Yeah.
ultimate loser has to do all the cleanup, and then everybody else in between has to like help. And so that's what they're all competing for. But like Hajun apparently didn't care. Like he was just like,
No.
I don't care if
No,
I'm last.
whatever. I don't care. Whatever. See, the great thing is, when you're forced to cook for everybody, you can at least poison them.
I know, right? Like
You
it
all
was
feeling a bit dodgy this
hysterical.
morning.
It was so funny. So they race 2 different times, and the second time when they go up, they have to ride kind of like a chairlift sort of thing, like
Oh,
if you're skiing. This is
oh,
where I didn't know
oh,
before seeing this
oh.
episode that Taegyum is scared to death of heights.
Yeah.
I didn't know that about him before this. And here's back to Sammy being like such a little ass sometimes. So he's sitting in the seat with Sam, and what does Sam do knowing that he's scared?
Let's start wiggling the chair.
Starts wiggling the chair, and poor Taegyum is freaking out. And Sammy just thought it was so funny. He
It's
was
not
just
funny, Sam.
laughing.
Sam, it is not funny. It is evil.
It is
I
evil,
expect
Sammy.
I expect more of him
I
than
do
that.
too. I do too.
Yes.
But
That is naughty step behavior.
I know.
I'm not
So
impressed.
so they finish the second race. At this point, it's not clear. There's not a clear winner, but there is a clear number 4, and that is still
Yes.
Hajun. He's at the end.
He just doesn't care. He just enjoyed his little. He just wanted to hear the air blowing through his hair. That's
Oh
all
my
it was.
God. I
He
know. He
enjoyed
didn't
it.
care.
Yeah.
So they go to an arcade next, and they play different games and so forth. But I'm sorry, my favorite one was this punch machine. Because can we just see? We can see through this punch machine who goes to the gym and who doesn't. Just saying.
Yeah,
Just saying.
there's also some weight differential there as well. We've got to take that on board.
Okay. All right, Kelly.
There is some
see.
weight differential there.
I see. Okay. I'm just saying. It's, Sammy's score was quite low.
It
Quite
wasn't
low.
that bad. Why am I standing up for him?
I
It
don't
wasn't
know.
that bad.
You've been like Mr. Kim DeLulu this whole episode.
Hey!
So I'm just
Right,
saying.
okay. Right, I need to start getting mean. Yeah, he punches like a girl. No, that's wrong. Come on. I literally spent 10 years of my life doing martial arts. I've got a really good right hook.
No, I felt like I was expecting Sammy's score to be a little bit higher. That's all I'm saying. But hey.
But he is the lightest one out of the lot of them.
Yeah, he's of very small stature. That is true.
I just love how you just keep getting that chap in. So
I think our roles have reversed today.
it has. Is this what happens when I have sugar? I turn nice. Jesus Christ! I'm not having sugar ever again. I need to cut it back out of my diet.
You said I turned nice. That's hysterical.
It's like, no, I can't do nice.
I know, I'm trying to feed you all kinds of fun jabs at Sammy, and you're not biting on any of them.
What's going on?
Him.
It's like this is some weird Twilight Zone shit.
It is. We are in the Twilight Zone. they wrap up this episode where they go to this kind of like, it's kind of like a skywalk, I guess. They have these harnesses
Yeah.
and they're supposed to walk out. And poor Taekyum, he's just like
Yes.
scared to death. But of course, they all have to go as one. So they all have
Yeah.
to do it. And all he's able to do is finally, after a lot of time, I think probably 20, 30 minutes, he finally just takes a couple steps holding on to Hajun for dear life. And I guess that's kind of doing it. So then the rest,
Yeah.
come back. And then as they do it, they come back to where they began with the.
Right. Can I just point something out?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So the three other gentlemen of the band, who are so big, so strong, so, so determined in what they are capable of doing, they all scuffle on out and walk across majestically, don't they? Until they get halfway across. And then all of a sudden, they all turn into gymnasts and have ballet arms out. Perfectly perpendicular with little pointy hands up in the air. Gently crossing over the steps, just in case they fall on their arse.
Yeah.
And they're taking the piss out of Tay. No, we're not having that. And may I just point out that the zip wire back on that thing is the worst zip wire I've ever seen in my life.
It was the most pathetic zip line I've ever. It was like they went like, like what?
Right. If you're coming to see me soon, if you've got more time, I would take you to Wales, because in Wales there is the most amazing zip line ever, and it's in a quarry. And you start at the top of the quarry and you zip line down to the bottom. It's huge, very, very fast.
Yeah.
And
this one was pretty
not that
lackluster.
one. Not that one. That one lacked a little.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's where the episode wrapped up. And then it was a 2-part episode. So they stay overnight in kind of an Airbnb. So Kelly, why don't you pick up with episode 8? Let's feel it.
Right, so episode 8 picks right up where episode 7 left off. So the guys are still on their trip and they head back to the Airbnb that they rental. So they sort of tootle on in with the bags of shopping, dump them on the table, and it's like, there you go, Haju, get on with it. And they all scarper off to go and change into the lounge gear, shall we put it that way. Tay has picked out the dinner because obviously he was the winner, and he's of course chosen something that is seafood based. And of course Hajun has to start making the dinner. Most of it didn't need to be made anyway because they'd picked things like sashimi. But as they're actually, the bit that makes me laugh, and they're looking through the bags and they're looking through it, and I don't know what fish it is that Sam looks at, and he looks at it and he just goes, it looks like Toothless. At which point I was in hysterics. I was gone because I love How to Tame Your Dragon. I was just like, I think I know which fish he means, but I can't think of what the name is at the moment. Yeah. And I was honestly, I was just in absolute fucking hysterics at that point. So they all scarper off. They all skip off on the merry way, and poor Hajun's there, bless him, still with his coat on, emptying bags.
I know.
She's just like, just leave me to it. Doesn't matter. Just go. Leave me to it. I don't care. So everybody slowly starts making their way back in after they've changed. Sam walks in wearing a pair of shorts. Now, we're used to Sam wearing shorts, but they all commented on the fact that these shorts were very short shorts.
And he looked uncomfortable. That was when Dojo was like,
so
why did he look so like awkward? So like he knew, like he was pulling him down.
I can't pull them down any further.
But like typical Wuzong, like he's probably had him since he was like 14. They're probably like the same shorts this man has worn for like the last 15 years.
Don't make me protect him again. Stop, woman.
No, you're supposed to keep digging.
Stop it! Stop it!
Is it because what I said at the beginning? Because they'll listen and they're taking you every time I
think this is what happened. No, I think this is actually what fucking happens when I have sugar. I think this is what happens. It's just like, you want to see, I was skipping around earlier. I was just a little bit giddy, and it's still not left my cyst.
I think it's
Anyway.
hysterical because he obviously was so self-conscious. Did you notice he changed later?
Oh, he did an Axl Rose and had a costume change within about 3 seconds. He was like,
Felt like
I'm back, I'm a bit
self-conscious in
more
those
comfortable.
shorts.
Yeah, it did, honestly, it did make me giggle. So, I mean, the guy sort of trundle on in, and obviously, as you, at one point, it was messing around with pots to cook whatever it was he was cooking. He's just like, I want something that's more aesthetically pleasing. It's a fucking cooking pot. Does it need to be, as long as everything goes into it, does it need to be aesthetically pleasing? Now, talking about aesthetically pleasing, they then decide that with their food, they're going to have a drink. So they'd obviously bought some makgeolli, and they decided they needed to drink this. So they suddenly thought, obviously we need vessels to drink this out of. Now, these weren't quite as aesthetic as the pots, because some bizarre reason, Hajun goes into a cupboard and manages to find what are very obviously kids' cups.
I know, like little
In
kid
pink
cups. Like there was no other glassware in
no
the
other
area
glassware in the
beneath
place,
Hajun?
apparently, just
Like,
these pink and blue kiddies cups. I
it was
looked at
so
it, and it looked,
bizarre.
I was kind of looking for the top. I was half expecting to be like sippy cups.
I know, it did. It did. Like, what are these grown-ass men drinking out of? What is happening?
So obviously they then start to drink, I think is the expression we shall use. And yes. So obviously Dojon decides that he wants to be sentimental and gather the troops, shall we say. And he decides that they're going to do a little toast that's "We go as one." Now, Sam couldn't be asked to do this. Surprise, surprise. He just wanted to drink. He really didn't want to do the whole...
I know, I feel like he's not, I guess he's not very sentimental. Where Dojo, we always say that, like, he's so sentimental.
Yeah, he is.
And
So
he was like,
they
nah, let's just, let the Magne do it, like, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So they decide the little bambino of the band has to do it. And of course, it falls completely and utterly flat. So everybody basically gets... How shall we put it? Do you know what? I think there's quite a few of the female listeners that would have probably enjoyed being in that position.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
The
I think
by
there's,
Taika.
the headlock. I think there's a lot would have enjoyed that. I'm quite sure there was a few people who've taken screenshots and superimposed their own face over it as he went around and headlocked each member of the band. I must admit, I saw that and I thought, oh, there's some weird screensavers now. Anyway, I digress. Tay makes the toast, bless him. And then Dojon goes on to comment about if people think that all they do is drink.
Well, let's see.
Yeah, exactly. Every now and again it does make you wonder, doesn't it? And so Sammy comments that, that he doesn't drink that much and he doesn't actually like drinking these days. It just, it's not one of those things, but kind of contradicts what he just said earlier on in the day.
I know.
Just a tad. Just a little contradiction. And then obviously we get into the lovely band dynamics that every band has. So then Hajun calls him out and then tells the story of a very drunk Sammy coming into the Windfall office, yelling that he wants to live in a penthouse apartment and that was his dream.
Why can I just picture this? Like him like stumbling in. I don't know, who knows what Hajun's doing in the office, but like he's just like, I want a penthouse, Hajun. We need to make it big. Like,
it wasn't anything to do with the penthouse. It was the fact that we've got to make it big. That was what it was.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It's just like, we need to be huge. I've decided that we're going to be, as he does, bless him.
reading says.
yeah, as he does, bless him. Oh dear. And then Tay adds on to the stories about drunk Sammy, commenting about the fact that he'd been into the trash can in the kitchen and there were 2 bottles of soju in there, sort of sat staring at him. To which point Sammy does reply and say, "Why are you assuming it was me?"
Well,
And then Hajun then tells the story about Dojon. When they were drunk in Busan. And apparently the worst thing is, I can actually see this happening.
I feel like I could too.
Is slightly out of his skull, I think is possibly the way to describe it. Out of his skull, or K-lied, as we like to refer to it round these parts. And he decided that this light that he was looking at was the most wonderful thing he'd ever seen in his life. So he decided that he was going to touch it and asked Hadgen to come over and touch it as well. And then ask him why it was warm.
So see this.
Yeah.
Hadgen, come
There
here.
you go. That is the scientist that is Leo.
Look at this.
The scientist that is Leo, that one. Definitely.
It's so warm. I feel like I can like see that.
I mean, he said that, and all I got going through my head was bright light. Anyway, so then they decide that they're going to play a game. And this game is the no English game. Now, the thing is, with Korean, I think a lot of you will be aware that there are a lot of borrowed words in Korean that are literally borrowed from the last 50 years of language. They've just taken that word and accented it. Now, Dojon explains the rules and explains them, and the fact that you can't use loan words, anything like that, goes into great depth about how this game should be completed. And then finishes his little instruction. Also, may I add, after taking the piss out of Sammy and saying he won't be able to do it because obviously he's native English speaker, etc., etc. He won't be able to do it. Yada 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 yada. And he gets to the end of it, and then he goes, "Okay."
Oh my god, it is so funny.
It took him a second or two to realise that he'd actually said it, though, which was even funnier.
I know. I watch a lot of different kinds of like Korean content, like different Korean groups or whatever. This is a common game, and it is always so hard.
Yeah.
Because I think Koreans don't even realize, like, he doesn't even realize that like, it doesn't even seem like a non-Korean word anymore.
So obviously this, and because he messed up, he had to take a shot. And then he decided he was going to add another rule to it because he wanted to catch other people out. So they got to double tap the glass when they put it down on the table after they'd taken the shot. So then Dojun then decides that he was going to say a very English word and try and make it sound Korean by saying alcohol, but trying to make it as Korean sounding as he possibly could. May I just point out the fact that there is actually a Korean word for alcohol? He couldn't remember what it was.
At what point doesn't he yell, "I love English"? Like, he was so drunk.
I love English.
He was so drunk that he's that drunk that when you say, "I'm really drunk," like, that's what he says.
Oh, by this point, obviously, he'd got like 4 penalty shots in a row. He was hammered.
Plus, like, I'm sorry, 4 shots? No, come on. 4 shots of soju and some Mokalis got you hammered, Dojo? Please.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, we have already worked out that they're lightweights.
Like,
we have already worked this one out.
Like, what?
And then it gets to the point where Sammy slips, and obviously Hajun is very quick to point out that he's slipped as well.
Yeah, Hajun caught that one. That was kind of
it was very quick. It was very quick, that one. But yeah, he managed to catch it.
Hajun caught it.
And obviously, in true Rose fashion, they always play more games to pick the loser who's got to clean up the dishes. If Hajun loses again, he's just got to do everything. And I mean, to be perfectly honest, I think I'd have just given up and just gone and washed the pots anyway and just be done with it.
Yeah.
But obviously they decide if somebody else loses, they're going to have to help him. So then they decide to play a game where somebody closes their eyes and has to take a photograph with their camera. Great game. The idea is that you dodge the camera in whichever way you can. Now,
have you ever played something like this? This sounds kind of fun. I've never done it.
Yeah. I think this has ended up being some weird party game at a family Christmas event. And they decide this is a great idea. So obviously, Sammy goes first, and Sammy being Sammy doesn't get anything.
You know what it took me back to? When he did it, it made me think of him doing the zombie game in the
I don't know
episode
whether
6
it's just
where he was shuffling like Ozzy Osbourne. I was like, why did he turn into like a 90-year-old man when he's doing these things?
he's secretly 90. He
I
is
think
underneath
he
it all.
is.
He is secretly 90, bless him. He is secretly an old man. And then Tay decides he's doing the second round. Now, if you remember the zombie game, I may have pointed out that one of our members thinks he's invisible, even if his arse is up in the air. This is exactly how Ajun got caught out, because he managed to tuck himself away quite well, but his arse was 90 degrees up in the air. So, of course, his arse ends in perfect frame.
I know, that's why I said this game looked fun. I gotta play this with my friends.
And then Dojong goes third, and he gets Tay and Hajun and a camera person.
I love the camera person out in the corner. Did you guys
I
catch
know.
that, listeners?
What was Tay doing? Why was Tay doing like a gym dead bug on the floor?
What was he doing? I don't know.
What was he doing? It was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it was funny.
Was it the third one where Sam decided he was going to get on the settee? Because we've worked out that there's two hiding places. Hajun's hiding places. He's invisible, even if his arse is stuck up in the air. And Sam's hiding place is always on a settee or with a cushion under his head.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's what he did, now that you say that.
Yeah, I'm sure he did just pull the cover over him like he was hiding from the dog or whatever.
Yeah, these guys are easy to predict, aren't they? We know them so well now.
So easy, it's not even funny. And then Hajun has the last one. And let's just put it this way, he kind of has the last laugh, because he manages to get Dojong, who seems to think that if he spaghettifies himself like he's going through a black hole, he's invisible.
That was funny. He's like up against the wall, and then his shirt, you see his little tummy, his like shirt's all like pulled up, like, because he's like half, drunk, probably still.
What is he doing? And then they do the sticky note game. You have a famous person on your sticky note, and that is put on your head, and you have to guess who it is from the mediocre snippets of information that you can gather from your teammates. So Hajun had Charlie Chaplin. So apparently Sammy doesn't know who Charlie Chaplin is, which I'm kind of
What's
amazed
up with that? How do you not know who Charlie Chaplin is? I think he was literally serious about that. I don't think he was kidding.
No, I mean, he thought it was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
I think he did. When he was like, he's a chocolatier. I'm like,
he's a chocolatier.
No, Sam. No, he's not.
No, that was Willy Wonka. So at least Charlie got the factory in the end, but not until the Great Glass Elevator.
No, so when he first said that, I was like, that's...
No.
Do we need to do an Editor Kel? I wanted an Editor Kel to come in the episode.
Yes.
Charlie Chaplin is not a chocolatier. Sammy does not know what he's talking about. Back to the episode.
Oh, yeah, this is Editor Kel. May I please just point out that Charlie Chaplin is indeed not a chocolatier. He actually means Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and he's still got that bloody shit wrong.
Back to the episode.
Back to the episode.
All right, Rose, write that down. If we know you're listening, taking the notes. That's a good idea. Write that down.
And then, of course, we had Sammy, and he had Steve Jobs. He guessed it after Tay's clue, which was, I love the person that wears the same clothes every day. Do we think that might have been a little dig? Just a little dig.
Oh my God.
A son of a dig.
Mr. Same look every day.
Hey, you were complaining. He got his short shorts out, and you complained about his short shorts. They'd not been out on display, so he's had to put his short shorts away.
Okay, the only good thing about those short shorts was we got to see the moth tattoo.
Oh, okay, yeah. It was just the fact that he still, sort of did his old man shuffling in them. Oh, bless.
His dad shorts.
His dad shorts. Oh dear. And then Tay got his very, very quickly. He
Oh my
managed to
god,
work
he was
out.
good.
Yeah, it was like, I think it was literally within 2 guesses. It was like, oh, it's so and so. It was
King
King.
so
Yeah, Wise Mo.
Sojon? Is that his name? King Sojon? The famous king that invented the language in
Yeah,
Korea, and he's
as I've said, my brain isn't working today. I'm still on a sugar bus.
Sojon.
It'll come to me a bit. But he pretty much got his straight
Which,
away.
like, not those clues, I wouldn't have gotten that. Like, wow, he did a really good job.
I think Sam's was quite. I mean, I think didn't he sort of say he was like an artist and so, and I think he picked it up from that because
I don't know.
yeah, I think he got it from that if I remember correctly, and so obviously Dojun, he had a member of the Mark clan.
I would admit, I don't know who that person is. Is it like who is that
Yeah,
person that he had?
quite a famous individual. I'm 100% sure. I can't remember exactly what it was they were famous for, but I
Okay, 'cause
know
I
I
didn't know
know
who
I've
they
read
were.
it. I know I've read it in the so like Korean history books.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
yes, folks, that's the type of shit I read at night. Korean history books.
Yeah.
I'm a classy lassie. Anyway, Dojan ends up losing, even though he can't work out the fact that it's actually one of his distant relatives that they put on his forehead. So he has to help Hajun with the dishes. Now, so following morning, Hajun is up straight away because
So we learned
obviously
he's an early riser.
no, but that's probably I hate to say it. I think that probably comes with him having Bella. Yeah. So I mean, it could be that, or it might just be his bladder.
There you go.
Anywho, so he gets up and he walks around with the camera, and he decides that he's going to go and just make sure the guys are awake. So I think he sort of goes and is it Dojon that he goes and wakes up first?
Well, it was a little bit confusing because in the first room, I thought it was Dojun, but then we see Dojun hung over on the couch later.
No, it was Dojon. The first one was Dojon, and it was. I quite like the caption that was put on by the editors because it could have been a very unfortunate clip.
I don't remember. What did it say?
It was a very brave, wide-angled shot for first thing in the morning.
Oh, yeah, I don't remember that.
I can't remember the exact wording, but it was something along that line, and I was sort of thinking to myself, actually, I do agree. It was possibly a little
I
bit
just
too much.
remember the part of him on the couch. I was like, "Whoa, Dojun, you had a rough night," because he looked hung over.
He looked like he needed the hair of the dog, didn't he? He did look bad.
He did.
So obviously, he wakes Dojon up, and then he goes and sort of just taps on the door and wakes Sammy up, who's literally on the floor underneath the covers, and then just does the "What's up?"
Oh my god, I'm sorry, but that was the cutest scene ever.
Of course, you think it's cute.
He
Of
was
course, you think it's cute.
adorable. He was just like
Oh.
little, like snuggly, bugly in his covers, and he's like, "What's up?" Cute. He was so cute.
And then, of course, obviously, we've got to point out the fact that obviously Sam is in room 4. And then, obviously, he goes and meets Tay as Tay's on his way out, and Tay just looks a tad hungover as well, I think's the polite way of describing it.
Yeah, man, Tay didn't want to be seen on camera. He
No.
had the mask on.
Yeah, but didn't he say he got like a sore throat as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like, no, I'm a bit rough. Let's not do this. So they go out for breakfast, and they get a little philosophical while they're sat eating the breakfast. And
I like this part.
yeah, and Sam's sort of saying that true unity isn't about all being the same; it's about being different and still coming together.
I liked that.
Yeah. it's balances and strengths within people, and everybody has their own strengths. And yeah, no, that's a nice one. And then he talks about World coming out and when it's coming out, which is quite interesting. So, like, as I've said to you, I've got a feeling that Sam's done a lot more of the organising in the background, whereas Dojan's obviously, he's done most of the production and bits and pieces like that. So I think that's where they've found the sort of balance split. I think Sam's been working more on like this, the sort of managerial side of everything that they need to do. And he said, you know, and he's sort of saying, obviously, it's a very different style to anything that they've done before. And Hajun says that it's less intense, but the spectrum's wider, which actually now we know it's released, it does make sense. It is.
Yeah.
It's a very large genre-spanning album to a certain extent. And Tay was saying he really likes the fact that it's different. And it's quite a nice conversation. They obviously reflect on the last time they traveled together, which was the Busan trip, and they were in their early 20s, and it was just a nice conversation between the four of them. It was a family conversation, shall we say. Then they make their way to the paragliding location, and there's obviously some ribbing happening here. You can see that there's a little bit of trepidation with Tay, but he's decided he's doing it. He's doing it.
I can't believe he did this based on how scared we saw he is of heights in the previous episode.
No, but do you know what? I think it is. It's the difference between propelling yourself to do something and being propelled. When you're paragliding, especially as a learner, you don't do it on your own.
Right.
You've got somebody who's trained, you're putting the trust in that person. Whereas if you're taking a step off of land onto a piece of wood and there's a gap in between, you've got to propel yourself. It doesn't matter that you're attached and you've got a harness and everything else on. So I think that's possibly where it comes from, and the fact that he could kind of get his head around that and work towards it. So they take a group photograph and decide that this could be their last band photograph together.
That was funny.
You know, and then you've got Sam going, "I love you, Mum," which was hilariously funny and what you would expect. And then they do, was it rock, paper, scissors to decide who's going first? I can't remember.
That's usually what they do.
It's usually what it is, isn't it? And of course, Dojan and Hajun, they go first, and Dojan goes first, and we can see him gliding off into the distance, making all sorts of Dojan type noises that he seems to have as a default when he's enjoying himself.
I'm loving this, that we've learned about Dojun, that he's a screamer.
It's hilarious.
With his helmet with the cute little bear ears. Listeners,
well, they do got bear ears. They'd all got bear ears, apart from Sam, who decided he was, part action. No, Sam was part action man, so Sam had got the helmet with the stars on either side.
Yeah, I don't think the others did.
No, they did.
Only Dojun's.
No, there was little bear ears. I
only saw them on his helmet.
And then Hajun goes second, and obviously it's an enjoyable, controlled experience with Hajun. Bless his cotton socks. He's just off and enjoying it, and it's just a marvel of the world. The wind is blowing through his hair, very much like on the luge. He's just there. He's enjoying the moment. Vibe. It's great. And then we've got the other two sat on top of the hill, and Tay turns round to Sam and basically says that this could be his last message, and it was all his bloody fault.
There they go, those two bickering till the end.
To the end. I mean, would we expect anything else? Woo-sung sort of saying to him, "Look, are you going to be all right doing this?" There's obviously a conversation going on between them, and Tay decides he wants to go last. So Woo-sung goes third, and he's off, as you'd expect, because that's just him. And then Tay goes, bless him. And you could tell he was nervous, but he did it. And you could actually see the moment of realization that he'd done it himself.
Yeah.
And that was really, really nice to see, because you could actually see he'd conquered a fear. And obviously, because they'd kind of gone at the same time, they managed to have some sort of movement together as they were flying down. And Sam touched the top of Tay's parachute as they came down. And they all land on the beach at the bottom of the rock formation. And they end the series all together. And they do a little The Rose World, Let's Feel It.
I love that. That like totally warmed my heart because we hadn't heard their little chant, Let's Feel It, in a while. And that was just like the best way to end it. I think another funny part was just knowing how well they all know each other, where Hajun was down on the beach and he's talking, he's going, I know exactly what Taegyum's doing right now. And he says like these things. And then the clip goes to Taegyum up on the top of the hill, who's literally saying the exact phrases that Hajun says he's saying right now. It was so cute. I was like, they know each other so well. It was cute. Yeah, I'm really proud of him. That was huge. Well, I loved this series. I think we laughed when the series started, Kelly. We were like, okay, this series feels a little all over the place. Like, what is this? But I feel like as it progressed, I did feel more cohesion throughout. I think we really got a great opportunity to see more of their personalities.
Yeah.
And now that we have the World album, I feel like a lot of the themes connected to, I think, things we're going to talk about when we dig into some of the meanings behind the song.
Yeah, definitely. There was a lot of quiet information in there, I think is probably a way of describing it.
That's a good way to describe it. Yeah. So, yeah, it was good. It was good. I enjoyed it. It was very different type of content than they've ever done, but enjoyed it just the same. All right, let's move into our humor segment. So it's kind of funny in this one because you commented about Taegyum and his cooking. So that's one of mine on this one.
God.
So would you rather you're gonna compete, Kelly, on the Great British Bake Off with Taegyum.
May I just point out, the Great British Bake Off is a very important thing to the British public.
That is why I picked it.
It's a very important thing to the British public.
That is exactly why I chose it. Now, while we know that Taegyum maybe is a good cook, I also feel like, Kelly, we have evidence he's not a good baker. Can we just go back to the gochujang cookies on the Epic High episode?
Yes.
So keep that in mind.
Can I just clarify something?
Here you go. Are you going to ask clarifying questions?
No. I want to clarify a situation.
Okay.
Not a question. There will be questions. There always is questions. But I want to just clarify something here. It was a room full of men who forgot, for one, that they actually needed to turn the oven on and preheat it. That didn't help. That didn't help. And also the fact they were all drunk as fucking farts.
Well, I think when Taegyum goes on the Great British Bake Off, he will not be drunk. So you'll have that.
Yeah.
He'll be sober.
Yeah.
I don't know if that means his baking skills will improve, but... Okay. You're going to compete on Dancing with the Stars with Dojun.
Oh, Jesus. Well, I need to add, right, now here are my clarifying questions. So, Great British Bake Off. As we know...
Can I admit something? Oh my God, here's all the things I admit to you. I don't like Harry Potter. I heat my water up in the microwave when I make my...
What else are you going to do now to me?
I've never watched the Great British Bake Off.
It's a travesty, woman. It's a travesty. Honestly, basically, the Great British Bake Off is what you watch. You literally, you have your tea and you sit down and you put the Great British Bake Off on and you sit there and you listen to a lot of people who can either bake and bake very, very well, and you sit there going, ooh, aren't these wonderful? And then they get judged, or you listen to it for the absolute smut that comes out of people's Because it's amazing how a cake having a soggy bottom could be turned into something else. Now, I will find a clip for people like Anne who have never experienced the Great British Bake Off. I will add it now.
Even sure I know what a beaver looks like. Stop it.
Have you actually practiced your beaver, or is it?
I have quite a few times.
Now, Nikki, tell us about your beaver.
Is that a moist beaver?
No, it's probably the other side, I'd say.
Dry. Oh dear.
So, as you've just heard from that clip, it's not really taken that seriously. But we do love a bit of the Great British Bake Off. It is traditional. It has to be done. There is the Celebrity British Bake Off as well, which generally speaking is a bunch of people trying to set fire to the tent.
Maybe you
None
guys,
of them bake.
well, he's a celebrity. You guys could do that one.
There's always one in there that's the class SWAT and does very, very well, and they're perfect. But generally speaking, it is people doing things and you're thinking, dear God, how do they get out of bed unaided in the morning, let alone bake? Also, my clarifying question is, what day is it? Because they have they have different weeks. So you have like bread week.
Oh my goodness.
And then you have like cake week, chocolatier week. I mean, what are we doing?
We are doing souffle week.
You see, I make a mean souffle.
Oh, darn it.
I make a mean souffle. That is one thing I can do.
All the little secrets.
Shall I secretly let you know something? And I don't think I should say this out loud.
You are such more of an interesting person than I am.
I'm actually not a bad cook. And I'm not a bad baker either.
Oh, darn it.
Oh, my nan was a chef, so I learned at an early age.
We already know that you can dance really well. So now you got to pick which one.
So dancing. So Dancing with the Stars with Dojan. Okay, now and Dojan can dance. The man has rhythm. We know he can dance.
Dojan can dance. We know
the man has rhythm. We know he can do it. However, what week is it?
Oh my God, I don't know.
I mean, is it one of these
it's the
where it's
hardest
like
week? Whatever's hard.
Is it salsa or samba or waltz or? I mean, what are we getting stuck with?
I think I want to see you guys salsa.
I don't want to see me salsa. I really don't want to see me salsa.
It's salsa week. Wouldn't Dojun be so good as like with some Latin dancing? Like, rawr.
Do you know what? Actually, that'd be hilarious. I've just got him doing that now. Oh dear, that's an image we need to see.
Because we know he's a little firecracker.
He is a little firecracker, bless him. Right, okay. I'm not what I'm
little.
You see, the thing is, yes, I can dance. I had no choice. I had to learn to dance. But I mean, I'm not really one for cat suits and sequins. I'm not really a fan of that. To be honest,
him in those outfits too. He would totally rock.
I can see him in a cat suit and sequins. To be honest, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, I can see that. Yeah. That's a scary thought. Anyway, I do the Bake Off. I do the Bake Off, definitely. I think so. Yeah. I think I can nudge him out the way and go, fuck's sake, what the hell are you doing?
I think he would just follow your lead. And then you guys
I think that's true. I think it would be, Kelly, you take the lead as long as you can feed me afterwards.
That's right. Oh my God, yes.
There you go. I'd definitely do the Bake Off. So what would you do?
Oh, I am totally dancing with my Dojun. Yes.
Of course you are.
We are gonna be all in sequins. We are gonna be so extra. We are gonna just kill it out there. Whether I can keep up with him or not, we're gonna still look good doing it. He's just gonna spin me around and I'll just follow his.
No, you said that. He's just going to spin me around, and I've now got you literally spinning across the dance floor and landing in the live band. Be like a scene out of. Why have I got that for? Is it The Mask where there's that scene? Is it The Mask?
Oh, I think it is in that movie, The Mask. Yeah.
It is, isn't it? I'm sure it is. I know it's like something I watched when I was a kid, and I've just got a vision of that.
I know. I think that'd be so fun. Dojun and I are two of the most extra animated out there people. Like, I always end up putting myself in these crazy ass situations with him.
But also the other thing as well that you've got to bear in mind though with Dancing on the Stars, you've got to have that terrible fake tan.
Oh, that's right. Dojun and I are gonna have to go get that fake tan. We gotta look. Yeah.
I mean, you look like you're creosoted. Just line spraying the fence and painting it at the beginning of
That's
summer.
right.
Just line up. To the back and the front.
Oh my god, too funny. All right, listeners. Well, tell us what you would pick. Kelly is going to do the Great British Bake Off with Taegyum. I'm going to be Dancing with the Stars with my man Dojun. Let us know what you would pick. Join us next time. We are finally, Kelly, going to deep dive into the World album. I am just dying to get my hands on this and just dig in. There's so much good stuff in this album. Yeah. I cannot wait. I think we're going to have some really rich discussions. Please rate our podcast. Leave us comments. Thank you so much. We've gotten a lot of recent comments for our Into the Tribeca episode. So we love your comments on Spotify or Apple Podcast. You can also email us. Let us know what you think. You can follow us on social media on Instagram, TikTok, and X. We are at KROK, which is KROK_cast, all across the board.
Click here to subscribe.
If you want to email us at krock.cast@gmail.com and check out our website, www.krockcast.com. All right, see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.